Hello everyone. Today I am here with another story, the last lesson from your class 12 English textbook. And this story is written by Alphonse Daudet. He was born on 30th May 1840 in Nimes, France, and he died on December 16, 1897 in Paris. He was a short story writer and a novelist, and he is now remembered mainly as the writer of sentimental stories of provincial life in the south of France. The last lesson, this story, it is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, which was fought between 1870 to 1871. And in this war, France lost all its important territories of Alsace and Lorraine to Prussia. Prussia, it was led by Otto von Bismarck, who is called the father of Germany, because he had unified Germany, and this war was also fought in the process of German unification. And at that time, Prussian Empire consisted of what are the present day nations of Germany, Poland, and some parts of Austria. And in this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine, they have passed into Prussian hands. And in this story, two central characters are there, M. Hamel and Franz. M. Hamel is the teacher who teaches French in the school where Franz studies, and Franz is the student who is like an ordinary student, doesn't like much the studies, especially he doesn't like the language. And what did he feel when he sees that the language which is his own is no longer being taught in the school? So the story begins with Franz getting ready for school. He started late for school and he feared scolding from M. Hamel, from his teacher. Why? Because M. Hamel had said that he would question the students on participles, and Franz, not being very good in studies and also not being very studious, did not bother about learning them, and he did not know the first word about the participles. So he was little bit scared that he would be beaten by the teacher, because the teacher, he used to carry an iron ruler with him and he was thinking of running away instead of going to school. All the surrounding around him was attracting him. He was thinking of running away and spending the day out of the doors, because it was a very warm, bright day. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field, he saw that in the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. Then he passed near the town hall. Town hall was the building used for the administration of local government, where the mayor used to sit. And outside the town hall, he saw a bulletin board and some crowd gathered around that bulletin board. So for the last 2 years, all the bad news the Franz had heard came from that bulletin board only, about the lost battles when the Franco-Prussian War was going on. The draft and the order of the commanding officers all were pasted on the bulletin board of town hall. And then Franz thought, what can be the matter now? Why so many people have gathered there? What could be the new update now? And when he passed near the school, usually he was thinking about, normally when the school began, there used to be a great bustling sound, even that could be heard from the street. The opening and closing of desks, the lessons were repeated in unison, all the children like they do in the primary classes, where one child speaks and the others recites it back. And it was really noisy around that the students, they had to put their even hands on their ears to understand better. And the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table to make everybody quiet. But that day was a little different. Why? Because it was all very still. Franz had counted on the commotion to get to his desk without being seen. Franz actually was thinking that there will be so much of noise and he would be able to reach his classroom and to his desk without being noticed, because all will be busy with the commotion, with the noise around. But that day it was very quiet, as if it was Sunday morning. Through the window, Franz saw his classmates already sitting in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down in the class with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. Once inside the class, Franz noticed when he reached there and in front of the class, M. Hamel, instead of getting angry, just asked him to go and sit at his place. That was really surprising for him, but still he went and sat. M. Hamel, he was putting on a beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, the little black silk cap, all embroidered. Once Franz settled down, then he noticed that it was no longer the usual day class, because M. Hamel was putting on his dress which he put on some very important occasions. He he always wore those clothes, that dress, on inspection days and the prize days, and the entire school was feeling very, the entire school was looking very strange and serious. Once Franz settled down on his seat, then he noticed around that the back benches, which are always empty, they were occupied today. That day. The village people were sitting quietly, like the students. Old Hauser, the former mayor, the former postmaster, everybody was sad. Hauser, he had an old primer open on his knees with his spectacles lying across the pages. Primer is the book used in the primary schools, which contains alphabets and all, for the primary students, for the beginners. And then M. Hamel made an announcement, and that was like a thunderclap for French. My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master of your German language will come tomorrow, and this is going to be your last French lesson. And then we need to know what was the reaction of French when he heard this. He says that I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs, or going sliding on the Saar. Saar means it is a river in northeastern France and western Germany. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. Now Franz was feeling sad. Till then, he never liked his language books or basically learning. Till then, because he was always thinking like, always there is maybe another day, there is a lot of time left for studying and all. So he never paid much attention to his studies, but now he was realizing he hardly knew how to write in his own language. And now he was getting scared at the very idea that he would never get to learn it anymore. He would have to stop learning French then and there only. And then he felt sorry for not learning his lessons. And he also regretted all those occasions when he went seeking birds' eggs or sliding on the Saar instead of learning his lessons. All his books, his language books, history of the saints, all those books which were earlier a nuisance for him were seeming like an old friend then, which he couldn't give up. And M. Hamel, the teacher, the idea that he was going away and that Franz will never going to see him again, then all this made him feel very sad. He even forgot his ruler and how troublesome he was at times. At that time, he was just feeling sorry. And at that time, what else did Franz realize and understand about M. Hamel and old men of the village? That all those old men, they had come to that class in honor of M. Hamel for the last lesson he was going to teach that day. And they also came to thank M. Hamel for 40 years of faithful service. They wanted to show respect for the country which was no longer theirs, and they also felt, and Franz also felt sorry for not going to school anymore. And M. Hamel had come in his fine Sunday clothes. Bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. This was a statement from Franz, explaining his habit of procrastination, which means the action of delaying or postponing something, which is often the case with many of you. In his last lesson, M. Hamel says that we have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. Why? What do they have to reproach themselves with? People of Alsace and Lorraine for having procrastination, that putting the things for later. Parents for not being anxious enough to have their children learn, always preferring them to put the children to work on a farm or mill to have more money. And M. Hamel himself, he feels to reproach himself for sending the students to water flowers, or whenever he wanted to go fishing, he gave the students a holiday. So he thinks that all these things have resulted in the students not learning the language which otherwise they would have learnt properly, and now they are never going to learn it. And M. Hamel, what does he speak about the French language? What did he speak about? That it is the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, and he urges all the people gathered there to guard it among themselves. He says that never forget the language, because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. One's motherland and mother language, they are the cornerstone of one's identity. We Indians also fought for our freedom by holding on to our languages. People get together, discuss, plan, and execute their plans through their mother language. Therefore, as M. Hamel says, that mother language is the key to their prison. During operation, people unite against the oppressors with their language. One's language is one of the strongest bonds with one's country, culture, and people. And in this chapter, the last lesson by Alfonso Daudet, we find linguistic chauvinism displayed by the Germans as they imposed German language on the French territories of Alsace and Lorraine. Linguistic chauvinism simply refers to the linguistic superiority, where one believes that his language is superior to others. This word chauvinism is used in a broad sense for many things. It could be linguistic chauvinism or racial chauvinism, simply referring to racial superiority. However, there one thing you need to know, that the French, on the other hand, was worried and sad about losing their mother tongue, and M. Hamel, calling it the best language, praising it a lot. Can this also be called linguistic chauvinism? Well, I think not, because everybody has the right to consider their language best, but it should not be imposed on others, because when you believe that it is best and it should be forced upon everybody, that is called chauvinism. And in the last class, the last lesson which was taken by M. Hamel, it seemed that M. Hamel wanted to give them all he knew before going away. He appeared to he wanted to put it all into the hands at one stroke. And Franz was also really surprised to see how well he understood grammar that day. He had never listened more carefully than that day. M. Hamel had never explained everything with so much patience as he did that day. And everyone, even the littlest ones, worked quietly and seriously. Nobody paid attention on anything else except what M. Hamel was teaching. And while M. Hamel was delivering his lecture, at that time Franz heard some pigeons coo at the rooftop, and he thought in his mind that would the Prussians made the pigeons coo in their language in German also? Will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? It was just a satire on the forceful nature of human beings, where they try to superimpose their authority on the other fellow humans. And in this, the young French boy hit the nail on the head that it is unfair and unkind to force the enslaved people to forget their own language and use the language of the oppressor. And then he was watching M. Hamel and he was thinking that M. Hamel, for 40 years he had been in the same place with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him. Only the desks and benches had been worn smooth because of the continuous sitting of the children. Otherwise, nothing had changed. The hope vines that he had planted twisted about the windows to the roof, and Franz felt that his heart must have been broken to leave it all. The walnut tree in the garden had grown taller. I never saw him look so tall. Franz also feels M. Hamel that he never saw him look so tall. Here it is an idiomatic expression that M. Hamel today, he was looking really big to Franz for being a proud and unyielding person who was not going to give up to Prussians. And M. Hamel, he concludes his lesson by saying, Vive la France, which means long live France. And then he says, school is dismissed, you may go. So with this, we come to the end of the lesson. And I would ask you all to complete all the questions which I am going to give you along with the summary of the lessons and upload them on Google Classroom as quickly as possible. Make sure that all of you do your work properly and within the stipulated time. Thank you.